Kick-off last night. He said he didn't understand the need for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to back Amorim so publicly.
What happens when he tends to speak is he drops something that's quite controversial, and this is no different. Because so many will have watched and felt that Ruben Amorim was under massive pressure. I know that they've won their last 3 home games, but it's not been convincing. It's not as if we're seeing the real fruits of Amorim's coaching and his style.
What is bizarre, right, is I'm guessing Sir Jim Ratcliffe's a clever man. I don't think you can make that much money without being clever. The fact that every single person who knows what they're talking about in football, including football fans, all say Premier League striker Dean Ashton during kick-off last night. He said he didn't understand the need for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to back Amorim so publicly.
What happens when he tends to speak is he drops something that's quite controversial, and this is no different, because so many will have watched and felt that Ruben Amorim was under massive pressure. I know that they've won their last 3 home games, but it's not been convincing. It's not as if we're seeing the real fruits of Amorim's coaching and his style.
What is bizarre, right, is I'm guessing Sir Jim Ratcliffe's a clever man. I don't think you can make that much money without being clever. The fact that every single person who knows what they're talking about in football, including football fans, all say former Premier League striker Dean Ashton joined kickoff last night. He said he didn't understand the need for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to back Amorim so publicly.
What happens when he tends to speak is he drops something that's quite controversial, and this is no different, because so many will have watched and felt that Ruben Amorim was under massive pressure. I know that they've won their last 3 home games, but it's not been convincing. It's not as if we're seeing the real fruits of Amorim's coaching and his style.
What is bizarre, right, is I'm guessing Sir Jim Ratcliffe's a clever man. I don't think you can make that much money without being clever. The fact that every single person who knows what they're talking about in football, including football fans, all say, get him out, apart from opposition's fans who say, keep him in. That must mean something to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Right? He must go, that's a bit weird. I'm wrong here. But obviously not.
I think there's some validity in letting him have a bit longer with this group of players he's brought in right now. I understand that, because they don't want to have to start again. So they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it will last, by the way, but I understand. What I don't understand is why he would go and have an interview, not speak to some people in the know, and prep himself on a really clever use of wordage to say, of course we're behind him, but he's got to, even if he says he's got to improve, things have got to get better.
It's the results industry.
All that stuff. And it's not that difficult. I don't know why he found himself in a situation where he's now leaving himself wide open.
You could see he was stuck. Gary is first up. He joins us. He's an Everton fan. Hi, Gary.
Hi, lads. You all right?
I'm good, man.
Gary.
How are you going to laugh at our expense, aren't you?
No.
Okay.
I just think this Jim Radford situation, I just think it's a total financial reason why he's keeping Hammer on. I think if he gets rid of him, he's got to pay him. Then he's got to go and probably pay compensation for another manager somewhere else and then give them a contract. I mean, when he first came into Man United, the first thing he done was, did he take the free lunches off the staff or little things like that? And I just think he probably thought, I've paid this money, I'm going to stick with him. I'm just going to roll the dice.
Maybe.
And see how it goes.
I understand what you're saying.
Isn't there a clause? You might know.
1st of November.
1st of November, yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, but it is a results industry. If United win everything, they'll get more money. If they lose everything, they'll make less money. So he must be aware of that. So it's going to cost him.
Absolutely.
If United aren't playing in the Champions League, it's going to cost him more money than if they sacked him and they got Champions League football, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I just think he's got the financial side of it at the forefront of it. I just don't think he's saying, I'm backing my manager because I believe in him. But we're going to stick with him. And I think he should stick with him, to be honest with you, at the moment. I think he should do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. You're an Everton fan. Let's quickly go to Matt, who's also is a Man United fan. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Andy. Okay?
I'm good, man. Off you go, pal.
I can't believe I'm sat here sort of agreeing with a Scouser over a United fan, but I think, Andy, we're crying out for stability. We're crying out us being fans, and I'm in my 40s, so I remember the bad days when I was really young. I remember the amazing days, the 20-odd years of us winning. I remember that, and so I'm in pain now. I really am. But it can't get any worse. And suggesting we're not going to get relegated. There'll always be 3 worse teams than we was last year. Let's just make that absolutely clear.
Right.
But so what's the alternative? So we change manager again. He comes in and says, all these players are not what I want. It's not the right. I want a brand new backroom staff. I want brand new players. And then in 12 months' time, when it's not working, because we all know it's the club that's broken, not necessarily these managers that we're bringing like lamb to the slaughter.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, right? But you've been a United fan since when? When are we going back to?
Since 80s.
Right. In your lifetime, the current Man United manager, factually, is the worst one ever. Now, if it was middle of that league, I'll go, okay, give him the benefit. The worst one ever. I've seen a year of him, and I've seen nothing in that year that leads me to believe he knows what he's doing.
Do you know what? It's not a bad argument. And just to interject, the biggest thing for me at the moment, and I am trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm trying to think, and you make some good points as well on the call, it's the way he looks. He looks like a rabbit in the headlights. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but he doesn't look composed and comfortable. He can't even watch a penalty.
No, what's that all about, by the way?
No, because you're a leader. If you're a leader of a big football club, you need to be inspirational. You need to be calm. You need to be the wisdom. You need to have the advice for the players. They should look up to you, look to you for leadership.
Never heard of that before.
Even the little tactics board where he's frantically moving pieces about. It's like, it reminded me of watching my boy last year in the under 14, 15s league when the coach.
That was like Grimsby, wasn't it?
Oh my dear God! You can see. I think your eyes tell you a lot. Even if you take away the results, your eyes tell you a lot.
Yeah.
It's too big for him.
Totally agree with you.
Too early for him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, it's only another 3 years we got. Still to come, we'll be joined by British heavyweight Dave Allen ahead of his fight live on TalkSport this weekend. You like your boxing?
Yeah.
I like Dave. He's a great lad, Dave. I'm looking forward to that. First, it's time for No Googling. Ahead of England against Wales, it's live on TalkSport tonight. 3 Welsh players have won the Premier League this century. Ryan Giggs, of course, is one. Can you name the other 2? You do well to do that, Danny Murphy. Name the other 2 Welsh players that have won the Premier League. Giggs is one. Who's the other 2?
What now?
No. After the break. And if Danny doesn't get it, I'll tell you the answers.
TalkSport Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4. On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.
United owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been speaking to the Times Business podcast, and he had this to say on his manager's future.
We have to be patient, and we have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch, and you can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one, every week. Sorry.
So Amorim gets at least the rest of the season then.
Amorim, he's a good guy.
That's not the same thing. He's a good guy. It's not the rest of the season.
I would say Ruben, he needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years.
Yeah, that's where I would be.
Yeah,
3 years, because it's not football's not overnight.
No, and as you say, the Alex Ferguson example is exactly that, isn't it?
And you look at Arteta at Arsenal. He had a miserable time for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
So much I want to say, and I'll start off, Dan, actually on the back of his last comment about just look at Arteta at Arsenal. Well, Arteta spent £1 billion and he's won nothing. He won the FA Cup with Unai Emery's team. That's it. Since then, he's won absolutely nothing. So if Arteta is his model, that's a huge worry. Secondly, I always worry about things that Jim Ratcliffe says and whether or not I believe him. He did an interview not too long ago where I think he told us Man United was 6 months from bankruptcy, and then 5 minutes later we spent over £200 million in the transfer market, and that was because people now have to buy their lunches, and he sacked the tea lady. There's one thing he said which we haven't played out, but in his quote, because I read the whole article, as you'd imagine, in the Times today, and he says quite early on that United would become the most profitable club in the world. That was his boast. Well, for me, that's someone who doesn't understand football, because I don't care how much money Man United. I want them to make money, because if we make money, we can get better players. But the word profitable should be replaced with successful.
Yeah, because the profit then comes anyway.
Yeah. He should be saying United will become the most successful club in the world. The fact that he says profitable leads me to believe that the amount of success, the amount of it on the pitch, is sort of irrelevant to him as long as we keep making money. And football, he also likens football to an F1 car, right? Football's like no other industry. It's like no other business. It's football. Unless you live, sleep, and breathe football and understand it, I think you've got a real problem understanding what the fans want, what the club needs. If you've got a manager who's got the worst record at Manchester United out of every single manager that's been there, that has never in his time, won 2 games back-to-back in the Premier League, how you've got the gall and the audacity to sit there in front of a camera and tell us that he's going to give him 3 years, I think he's...
Well, he was forced into that statement.
Yeah, but he's a clever man. You know, football is all about results. It's a results industry. If he keeps winning, he stays. If he keeps
losing, he'll be gone. He won't be there for 3 years. We know that.
Come out and say that then. That's absolutely insane.
Well, the only sympathy I've got for him is that if he never speaks,
like so many owners don't,
yeah, and doesn't try and communicate through whatever method, he'll get hammered because he's
he's getting hammered anyway.
He is.
So nothing will change.
The problem is when he does speak, some of it's a little bit, well, some of it the riddles around the bankruptcy and all that stuff. It's like, what? Then you're going to go and spend a load of... People then start doubting the words in the next time he chats.
Yeah.
The football knowledge, in-depth knowledge that you want to hear from him, I don't think he has, which is fine if he's delegating people in the right positions to run the club and run the football side of it, which I think he is trying to do. But I think he should be maybe more prepared and more concise with his words when speaking about the topic of Amorim, for example, because that looked to me like an ill-prepared response to a question we all knew was coming.
Yeah.
He kind of changed as he was talking.
Yeah.
The fact is, United at the beginning of this season, I thought, especially the first 3 or 4 games, looked like the system had evolved. When I say evolved, they were obviously better because they had more quality high up the pitch than last season, which the shots and all the stats that we read about United for the first few weeks told us that. But it also looked from a collective, especially the performance against Arsenal, where when they were pressing and moving up the team, they were doing it together. When they were dropping off and sitting in, and they were doing it together. The spaces looked smaller. They looked like they'd worked on the system and it was better. I don't like the system, by the way. I don't think that system works for big clubs with good players. I think it's a system that works generally better for lesser teams who can be pragmatic and sit in and play counter. Palace have done it brilliantly. But it did look as though with the signings, with the first couple of games, even the Fulham game, first half, they should have been 2 or 3 up. Played well.
Yeah.
Fulham came in second half. I think they got a draw in the end, didn't they? So I was looking at it more thinking, I can see a little bit of progression. Now, of course, when you play high-quality opposition, as the weeks went on, and teams watch United or work, set traps and plans to try and infiltrate their system, there are going to be times where they have bad spells in games. But the problem United have had mainly this season, if you take Brentford out of it, which was a really poor performance, the other games, they've been done by individual errors and poor decision-making from the players he picked in those positions. So Bruno was guilty of at least 2, maybe 3 goals, where his lack of
defensive duties,
tracking back, cost them. Neil Smith-Rowe at Fulham, Foden against City. It don't matter how the system's set up. If Bruno's playing as a central midfielder...
Which is wrong.
Yes, that's on the manager. Yes. So I've deviated a bit away from the system. Even if you play 4 at the back or 3 at the back, if that becomes 5, if your centre-halves aren't particularly quick in the Premier League and you go up the pitch, you're asking for trouble, because that's what Brentford did is work.
But with Brentford, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Their manager, Keith Andrews, right? I didn't give him a chance in hell. When I found out the set piece coach was taken over, I was like,
they could still go down.
Yeah, they could. He outthought Manchester United's manager. He saw the weakness. He exploited it. We didn't change. There was a great graphic that Micah Richards did when he was on Match Today. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about. They showed you when we made substitutions, it wasn't like for like, which is sometimes happens in football. You take a left-sided midfielder off and you bring on a defensive midfielder, to tighten up the game. But every time he brought on a player, he was moving other players around. He brought like a player who was playing right at the 3. I think it was Luke Shaw. He moved him into central defence. Then Mason Mount come on and he moved. And at the end, we had Mason Mount as a wing back on one side and Boomer on the other as another wing back. Now that's the manager getting that massively wrong, and that manager has just been given 3 more years by the owner. I think it's insane.
He won't last the season at this.
But then why? If he doesn't, if he sacks him, right? I mean, how on earth do you come back from that?
Well, you just have to come out and.
No, but how stupid.
Yeah, but that a lot of people have backed their managers and then sacked them before. It's something that's happened.
I know, but not by moaning about the fact that we're quick to say, I don't listen to everyone who's a journalist and they tell him, no, I don't do that. 3 years, boom, down. And hold on a minute.
It's not a polished speech, is it?
No.
It's not polished at all, and he's going to leave himself wide open.
Yeah.
In terms of what some of the points you made, they're good ones, and I thought Micah's piece was really good. He has been changing centre-backs ever since he's been through the door during games.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Unless
He's making substitutions. He's taking like
bizarre, but he always does
off and putting Aaron Maguire on.
it. The reality is, a year into the job, he's got to be doing better. Now, people could argue that their personnel just isn't good enough to compete with Arsenal, Liverpool, City. Right? Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
It should be better than it is, but if it's not good enough as a collective, adapt. Find a way of being competitive with the players you've got. Now, if you've got a vulnerability with a lack of pace as your centre-halves, you've got to be a counter-attack team. Now, does he have personnel to be counter-attack? Of course he does now. And Brumo's spent his life doing it at Brentford brilliantly. Cunha's scored 40, how many goals? 12, 14 goals last season, doing it for Wolves. Counter-attack every week. He's got players to play a different way. The thing is, he doesn't help himself when he's not just the subs, but he's going along with this persistent narrative of, I'm not going to change for nobody, get someone else to do it, blah, 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 blah. I've played with stubborn managers who have a certain way of playing, but it's not system-based. The system, you can still play a certain way in a different system. He's obsessed with the system.
Yeah.
And I've never known a manager quite like it. So if you think of the best ever managers, right? Fergie springs to mind. Fergie realised that Ronaldo didn't really want to do the defending properly. So he put him up front and asked Rooney to, and he ended up going to a 4-5-1 to try and win the European Cup.
Yeah.
Well, nobody said it. Cool, that makes sense.
I know.
Put Ronaldo where he scores all the goals. Rooney will do it for you. Sacrifice Rooney, and he did it because he's that type of lad. Every manager adapts. Even Klopp, when they got rid of Coutinho.
Yeah.
He didn't buy another number 10. He went, you know what? We're going to go 3 midfielders, box-to-box players, athletic, and we'll rely on the front 3.
Didn't we all have a pop at Ange by constantly playing such a high line?
Yeah.
And he was expecting different results. It was like
But then he adapted in Europe, and for the last 4 games in Europe, he played counter-attack.
Yeah.
And beat United sitting in.
Okay, you don't need to end it on that. But.
No, my point is
100% right, Dan.
And the last point is this: all those subs you were talking about, and the constant moving people around and messing around with it, and your little tactics.
Yeah,
I'm telling you now, the players between themselves are going, "What is he doing?"
Yeah,
and you once you've lost a few of them, you're in trouble.
We do the same. Maybe you got the answer. 3 more years, says the owner. I mean, 3 more games.
He's not being there.
3. Well, you don't think he'll be there at the end of the season if these results carry on?
I just don't see how an upturn happens. You might get the odd good result. Let's say you get a draw at Anfield or sneak a win. It's going to give him a month.
I know. It's nuts.
Talk Sport Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the Talk Sport app and on your smart speaker. Talk Sport.
Wayne Rooney was one of those who pitched up at the Legends of Football dinner last night here in Mayfair in London. And of course, we know with Wayne, he's tried his hand in the world of management of late. But by his own admission, he suffered some fairly turbulent and troubled times during that. I asked him what he thought of the actions of some of the Rangers fans we saw on Sunday night after Rangers drew 1-1 at Falkirk. And it all ended in acrimony towards Russell Martin and indeed Russell Martin's sacking. This was Wayne.
It's a difficult one. It's their club, and I'm sure Russell Martin will say himself it didn't work out. The results weren't good enough. I know I've been through that, and it's not easy, and it's a lonely place to be when that happens. But yeah, sometimes they can go too far, but that's probably lost out of the game, the passion, and you don't want to overstep the mark, but you want to see a bit more passion in the game, and it's sad for him. I wish him all the best, and I'm sure he would come back. He's a fantastic manager, coach. I've coached against him, and really good coach, and sadly he just hasn't found that right club in Rangers.
It all comes down to the fact, Wayne, and you know this, you must win. And he wasn't winning football matches. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, especially in Scotland, no disrespect to the team, but Rangers and Celtic, and if you're Rangers manager and you're not winning, then the pressure's going to be on, and unfortunately he's lost his job, and that's the way it goes. We're seeing it with rumours about other managers who haven't been in the job for long, and unless you're winning, you're always in danger of getting sacked.
You were at the very, very top for so many years as a player, and then you move into management. When bad news comes, what's the worst aspect of it? Is it your ego that's bruised? What is it?
You want to do your best, and you try and do your best, and sometimes it's not good enough. I probably should have listened to Simon a bit early. You give what you can, and if that doesn't work, then you'd either get up and go again, or you find another path. It is difficult, and that's life.
Do you find it crazy that questions are being asked about Ange Postecoglou after 7 games?
I seen his interview today. I don't know if he done today or yesterday, but I watched his interview and I thought it was a real class interview. And I like Ange. I think he speaks well. He's honest. But again, like Russell Martin, if the results don't come, the Forest fans don't seem to have taken to him. That can bring pressure.
Tell me this: are you itching to get back in?
No, not really. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm still learning in the punditry world as well, and trying to get better at that. And yeah, I'm happy and get to see my kids play more, and not the pressure of managing. Listen, and if something, the right one comes up, which after what's happened in previous jobs, I very much doubt it. I'm not stupid, I can be honest on that. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Do you know what, mate? In the world of punditry, you say what you mean and you mean what you say. You're quite confident. You're comfortable in that environment.
If you can't say what you feel, then you shouldn't be doing it. And that's where I think Simon is really good, actually, when he's honest, he's brutal at times, and but he's saying what he feels, and I'm maybe taking a leaf out of his book. But yeah, no, I try and say what I think, and sometimes you're right, you're wrong, and that's how it goes.
On this occasion, you're getting copious mentions of how well you've spoken in the past, and the sense you've spoken in the past when it came to Wayne.
Well, look, I mean, he had a go at football management, didn't he? I mean, he can't be criticised for that. It's not his fault that the Birmingham owners decided to take John Eustace out and put him in as manager. That's their fault. It's not his fault that the Plymouth chairman decided to suggest that people's history doesn't make any difference to their employment going forward.
Yeah.
Look, he was a top-class footballer, and he had a go at football management. It probably isn't his calling. I liked him on Saturday because he hasn't yet been polluted by the art of saying nothing and being politically correct on a television or radio show because you're worried about the consequences of it. And he called things out because there was a taboo. You must not criticise Mohamed Salah, right? But he didn't seem to care about that. He seemed to be very much focusing on the fact that Salah wasn't doing this and Salah wasn't doing that. And it's an unwritten law that you mustn't say things like that. Especially,
really? I've someone like Salah?
Yeah, because he's beyond criticism because of what he's done in the past. And lots of that may well be true. But if a team is evolving, it needs to evolve. It's a sum of all its parts. So I think that he has a potential future in punditry. People have got a perception of him. I never said anything about Wayne that was personal. I don't know Wayne Rooney. So for me to say something personal about him, there are very few people in this world that I dislike, and I'm quite happy to turn around and list the ones that I dislike. But most of the things I say are based upon me trying to look through and be objective about what is right and what is wrong. And I hope he does do well, because he was a fabulous footballer. I think he'll be a good addition to the punditry world. And who knows, he might find some future in coaching. But I don't think that Wayne is a football manager. I think there's a different skill set. That's not a failing in him. He had a go. He put himself in a way of jeopardy. He put himself in a way of a huge reputation being taken down because he's Wayne Rooney. And he himself speaks to the fact that he thinks it's unlikely that another opportunity will come. But who knows? He's still very young. He's still got several phases of his life to go through.
I mean, you didn't hold back on him when he was in management now and again, and some of it was quite strong. He's got the decency there to acknowledge that and say, do you know what? Now that I think about it, some of the things Simon said, he was right.
But I don't think I said anything personal about him. I didn't say he was stupid. Or
Well, you said a few things about his personal life.
No, I didn't. I said,
maybe away from the field.
No, I didn't. I criticised some of the things he did. I criticise his behaviour because I think it's not unreasonable to say that as a manager of a football team, perhaps you shouldn't put yourself in certain situations that he put himself in. I didn't put him there. It wasn't untrue what I said. So it wasn't a criticism. It was an observation based upon the fact that as a leader of a team, you have to be beyond reproach. You can't be one of the lads. You can't do things that ultimately you might have been able to get away with and probably wouldn't even be able to get away with as a footballer, let alone as a manager. There was nothing malicious about it, nothing untrue about it, nothing set in a particular agenda. I wanted Wayne Rooney to be successful based upon Wayne Rooney's talent, not Wayne Rooney's name. And the argument that gets advanced by lots of managers is some of these guys get jobs because of their names. And there's a truth behind that. There's an element of truism about that some of these opportunities that are given to the Lampards and Rooneys of the world may not be given to other managers, including ethnicities in that conversation, which I often rail against, but I understand some of their argument. The fact of the matter is that my observations upon Wayne were seeded in fairness, and I was happy to be challenged on them, happy to be put back in my place. Tragically, for the Plymouth owner and for Wayne, they weren't able to, were they?
You say you were happy to be challenged on them, but you didn't take his call when he tried to call you.
No, I missed his call.
You missed his call.
I missed his call. I wasn't
That's
quite.
right.
I wasn't.
And then I got it at the neck of
I
Derby.
wasn't like you, like a little kid at Christmas in Aladdin's cave, because I had Wayne Rooney calling me.
Hardly. He was on to have a serious tilt at you.
I doubt it.
No, but listen.
But well done to him.
Exactly.
I think on Saturday on Match of the Day, I thought he came across really, really well.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, Simon, we're going to hear from Alan Shearer in the final hour. There were some serious names pitched up at that Legends dinner last night in London. But when Rooney walks in, he attracts a lot of attention. He's still regarded as one of the greats who has played the game in this country.
I mean, he was up until a recent time. England's greatest goal scorer. He's Man United's top goal scorer.
Yeah.
You don't get to play for Manchester United for the period of time that he did.
Yeah.
Without being one of the best players in the country.
He's not someone that goes on TalkSport and boasts about scoring the second ever goal at the new Wembley wearing white boots. He wouldn't do that.
No, because he scored many more other goals.
Who did do that? Oh, yeah, you.
Oh, that's a fair comparison. You're right, yeah.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.
We're taking your calls, all things Liverpool. Mohamed Salah is the undroppable 03717 223334. Nick is a Liverpool fan. Nicholas.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Oh, good, man. Thanks for asking. How are you today? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Don't normally disagree with Andy, but I've got to disagree with everything he said so far.
Oh, okay. Go on.
First of all, I totally agree with you. It was Klopp's team, Klopp's squad. Slot tweaked a couple of things, ideally, with Gravenbach putting him in a different position, which really helped. But apart from that, I just feel like it was Klopp's team and his squad. So I think the jury's still out on Slot at the moment.
Okay, so why didn't Klopp win it in his last year with the same players?
Maybe it took time for them to gel. Who knows?
It took time for them to gel? What? Took that in his last year at Liverpool? It took time for them to gel when he's been there for like 9 years.
Well, Man City weren't the team they were before their last season, so we didn't have them really to compete with. I don't know. I think he had the same players, same squad. He did tweak a couple of things, but can you put all the credit to Slot? I'm not so sure.
Well, he doesn't get any. Okay, so we've been not poking fun, but we've been having a go at Ange Postecoglou, who's inherited the players from Nuno, and look at how he's got on. And we said that he's an awful manager. So Slot surely gets credit for inheriting a group of players who didn't win the league before and then won it.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit. What I'm saying is I don't think he deserves all the credit.
No, but you're saying the jury's out.
I think the jury is still out. I think we'll have to see how this season goes before we can make up our own minds about him, really. Be interested to see what happens. I mean, like Andy said, we've been terrible this season so far. We just haven't started. I know we beat Arsenal, but we haven't kicked off this season at all. And, I mean, I thought we were terrible against Chelsea. We got the same problem as we've always had for the last 2 or 3 years. We haven't got a defence. We can't defend. We keep conceding goals left, right and centre, and it's going to cost us big time. And this is why I'm so frustrated. Why did Slot leave it till the last day of the season to try and get centre-half for Gahey?
Yeah, that was nuts.
Great if we got him, but Slot must have known long before the last day of the season we needed another centre-half. Why leave it to the last day and then go for a player who Palace weren't that keen on letting go.
Yeah.
I just think he's dropped a bombshell there. I think with the defence we've got at the moment, it's going to cost us. Kirkes has been poor.
Yeah.
Finfall's been poor. I'm not impressed with either of them at the moment. And when Andy Robertson comes in and plays better than those two, then that tells you how bad our defence is at the moment. As for Mo Salah, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't have re-signed him. I think he was terrible the last 2 months of the season. He's been terrible so far. I don't think he contributes anything to the team anymore. And I think the time's to drop him. I'd have Gapco on one side, TK on the other, and Isak down the middle.
Okay.
I would get rid of Salah now. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they signed him just so they could get rid of him in maybe January or next summer. Maybe sell him to Saudi Arabia and get some money for him. And I think that's the only reason they gave him a 2-year contract.
Why didn't they sell him for 100 million when they could have done?
Maybe they didn't realise he was going to be as bad as he has been. Because you look at the games we've played so far this season, he's not contributed anything. I know he's got a couple of goals and a couple of assists, but 90% of the game, he's out the game. He's not in the game. He's lost his pace. He does nothing but give the ball away.
Nick, listen,
I would drop him.
You get rid of him. Okay, Nick, thanks for calling. I'll take as many calls.
So the guy had 57 goal contributions last year.
Yeah, but this year, so about this year.
Honestly, some football fans.
Carl's up next. What's his view? Hello, Carl.
Good evening, gents.
How are you?
Well, I've been better as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
The last week has been challenging, shall we say.
Go on, what's your view? I mean, you've heard my view and Bentley's in that last caller was quite scathing. What do you make of Liverpool?
I think some of those points that the last caller made, a lot of Liverpool fans are feeling now. Salah apparently already came out and said if he re-signed, he didn't want to do defending. He was going to stay on the halfway line and wait for Liverpool to counter-attack, and he'd be ready.
Where did he say
that? Carl, I need to know where he said that, because I don't know any player that's ever said that.
He said, I'm going to stay on the halfway line.
I saw that. I'm sure I saw it in an interview. But anyway, getting back to that.
Anyway.
My current team wouldn't include Salah from the start. I think he is now probably best coming on as an impact player for the last 20 or 30 minutes. I'd start a midfield of Gravenberch, Slobozlai and McAllister with Wirtz in front of them and Ekatike and Isak up front, and then potentially take one of those two forwards off and put Salah on later in the game.
No width. You'd have no width.
Oh, you've got players there who can go wide. You've got players like Slobozlai. You've got the fullbacks hopefully coming in and overlapping. But I think the worst decision we made was not buying a centre half, because I've said for 2 years on this programme and others that Konate is vastly overrated and shouldn't be playing for Liverpool. He's absolutely awful. For a big man, he loses so many challenges, gives away so many free kicks and gets booked because he's caught out of position and has to grab hold of people. He's been absolutely useless for 2 seasons, and we're trying not to sell him to Real Madrid. Personally, I'd go in January, I'd get Trent back and say, let's do a swap. Just get Trent back. At least he was offensive.
You couldn't wait to get rid of Trent?
No.
Burning his shirt, you were.
Sir, some people were saying about getting rid of Trent. If Trent wanted to stay, I'd have been more than happy for him to stay at the club. He obviously didn't want to stay because he thought the grass was greener. And now he's found out that playing for Madrid isn't all what it is made out to be. I've said for years, playing in France, playing in Germany, playing in Spain, you've got to beat maybe 1 or 2 teams a season and you've won the league. They're all Farmers League. If you can play in Germany and Bayern Munich win 11 titles...
What do you mean you've got to win... Hold on. What do you mean you've got to beat 1 or 2 teams? What, 6 points to win the league?
No. You've only got to beat 1 or 2 other teams in most of those leagues, because the rest of them are...
You mean all of them?
Nowhere near good.
No, but he's talking about...
Well, yeah.
I think La Liga, I think, is a different kettle of fish. I think if you can go to... and play at Real Madrid. I mean, they've won more European titles than anyone. That's where you get judged at Real Madrid. It's not about, yes, of course they want to win La Liga. That's fact. I get that. But you get judged about Champions League. That's what that club is about. And if you get to go there on a free, come on.
Yeah, football fans are amazing, aren't they? Liverpool fans have a meltdown.
Get Salah out now.
Get him out.
57 goal contribution last year.
I would have sold him
in 52 games.
And get Trent back. Yeah, let me tell you now. Trent ain't coming back after the way you treated him, sadly.
TalkSport Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.
Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol here today. Craig's got back up today because he was getting targeted a little bit yesterday.
That was fun. That was fun. I'm a big boy, I can take it.
Yes. We must revisit a topic, though, that we did speak about on yesterday's show, and it was that of Sir Jim Ratcliffe stating that he will give head coach Ruben Amorim at Manchester United 3 years to prove himself as a great coach. Obviously, we discussed this yesterday. The English papers have been picking up on what he has had to say. And as we bring in Jan Agerfjordhoft and Frank Leboeuf.
Well, get ready, Frank. Come on.
Get ready, Frank.
Come on.
It's okay. I'll give you a minute, Frank.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a Wi-Fi issue, so I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, well, you get that sorted out.
I think there's more than a Wi-Fi issue there.
No, that should be all right.
Yeah, and you're shaking your head already as you saw those headlines.
Yeah, because there is no chance that will happen. I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe can say whatever he wants. He won't give him 3 years. He can say 3 years, but that won't happen. He has to get results. You have to change. We have to see a philosophy. We have to see identity. We have to see winning games. And yes, was a good game against Sunderland. That's the only thing now. I love Amorim. He's kindest man to have pitchside for me as an interviewer. But you have to win football games. And there is no chance. I hope for Amorim. Fantastic if he can stay for 3 or more years, as the English tabloids were writing. There is no chance that will happen. He has to improve the team. You have to win football games or you're gone before Christmas. Finito, period.
I bet the papers had a field day with that, didn't they? I mean, I know I talked about it yesterday, the boys weren't in.
I know they'd have a laugh.
I mean, Stevie, we were saying yesterday, I mean, apart from it's just a ridiculous statement that you don't have to make, that's probably going to come back and bite you in the backside when you have to make the inevitable decision, as it looks at the moment. But what we were saying yesterday, it was more than feasible had they lost at the weekend to Sunderland by 2 or 3 goals, which the way they've been playing was a possibility. It did not happen, but it could have. That he could have fired them, or he could have been forced almost to fire them Monday morning or Sunday morning. And yet now, because of, does he feel emboldened by beating a team at home that have just been promoted from the Championship? So, you know, it just seems ridiculous when everybody was saying if he loses to Sunderland at the weekend, he could be gone. And now, 3 days later, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's talking about, we're going to give him 3 years. Huh?
Well, it's hard to listen to Ratcliffe anymore because every time he says something, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, I mean, he's talking about you can't have knee-jerk reactions. Well, he gave Ten Hag
a
new deal, and then 2 months later sacked him. So he's actually done what he said you can't do. And then to turn round, as Jan said, there's no chance he's going to be there for 3 years. I mean, he's been there, a year already? And if anything, you can honestly, hand on heart, say Manchester United are worse than they were when Amorim came. So how is he going to last 3 years? Yeah, as I said, every time he speaks now, other than laugh at it, we don't take it seriously.
Yeah, and yesterday, Craig was saying as well, Frank, that you get caught saying these things, they come back to bite you on the backside when things do have to change.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes you should be, yes. It doesn't work?
No, we've got you. You're back.
You're back.
Continue.
Unfortunately, it works now.
Okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, for long enough, but I try to be short and good enough. No, I think nobody bought it, and nobody will buy it because we all know the system. We know the world of football, and we know how it works. And Sir Ratcliffe, proven before that when you don't have results, you get out and you are sacked. So Amorim, if he carries on like that, and it's not because he won against Sunderland that everything is going to be changed. If he carries on like that, he's going to be soon gone, and Sir Ratcliffe will have no other way to behave because the fans will be upset.
Go on then, Jan, final thought.
Just a thought. When Amorim saw that quote from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he probably said, "I don't want to stay here for 3 years." I mean, he seems to be the most realistic guy in there. When he do analysis of his own position, he's quite okay. He say, I understand, I have to win, I have to improve, I have to get the people going. Yes, they can talk about the system all the way around, but we need to have passion, we need a determination to win football games. And if that won't happen, I'll be gone. And then Sir Jim Ratcliffe say, you're going to stay there for 3 years. Seems nearly like a prison thing for him.
This is the anti-Bayer Leverkusen stance, isn't it? Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah. It's like, this is chalk and cheese. This is black and white. I mean, this is just two different stratospheres. Bayer Leverkusen, former Manchester United manager, Eric Ten Hag comes in, he's there for weeks, and they go, boy, we have made a huge mistake here and just out him. It seems on the face of it at the moment, United have made another mistake. Of course, he has time to turn it around, but he has Liverpool off the back of the international break, albeit Liverpool side that have their own issues and their own problems to deal with. But yeah, when you make these statements, it's kind of pointless, because then when a really bad result pops up, like they've seen against Liverpool in the last few years, I mean, there's been 5 and 6 goal hammerings, then that's where it comes back to hurt you. The difference with the Glazers is, the Glazers were doing this, that and the next thing. They were running the club on debt, they were taking money out. I mean, none of it's good, but at least they weren't popping their head up making stupid statements. Right. Jim Ratcliffe's in there, they're spending a fortune, they don't have full control of the club. It seems to me they don't really know what they're doing. The recruitment hasn't been very good, and they've hired a manager who's struggling, and yet he comes out and says, "We're going to give him 3 years." So I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't really think it helps.
Yes, go on then, Frank. Last point.
No, but what is funny is on top of it. What is funny is on top of it. We are talking about Manchester United. I mean, we already talked about Nottingham Forest and the bad result that Ange Postecoglou had. And that is not the last if he carries on like that. But this Nottingham Forest, with all due respect, used to be a great club, but now they just came back 2 years ago from the Championship. We are talking about Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you are telling us that's a guy who has no result going to stay 3 years. No, it's impossible. You have to be fair to people who love the football, who know the football, and many people do. So stop it.
I said it on the other show, Kay. I would just say about Ten Hag that Craig was alluding to. I spoke to the guys in Germany and I asked them, how can you fire Ten Hag after 1 cup game and 2 Bundesliga games? Yeah, there was a mistake from him. We should have taken him after the training camp before the season. That was the sources in Leverkusen.
Yeah.
The excitement, Craig, you had when Jim Ratcliffe was going to come in and save Manchester United and Ineos and all this. And this is what he's been saying about his manager.
Well, they did beat Sunderland at the weekend.
He has not had the best of seasons.
We're 7 games in. We're 7 games in.
Ruben needs to demonstrate he's a great coach over 3 years. That's where I would be. The press, sometimes I don't understand. They want overnight success. They think it's a light switch. You flick a switch and it's all going to be roses tomorrow. You can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one every week. Let's welcome in, shall we, Don Hutchinson. What world is he living in?
Well, he's living in the one where he's emboldened by beating Sunderland.
Because 3 years.
Because if they had lost to Sunderland at the weekend, which they did not, at home, He could not have made that statement. As stupid as that statement is, he could not have made that had they lost at Sunderland. He probably would have had to have sacked him. And he talks about knee-jerk reactions. Isn't it Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe that made, well, we didn't call it a knee-jerk reaction, but it was a knee-jerk reaction to giving Eric Ten Hag the new contract, then sacking him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Ten Hag never got 3 years off the back of the new contract, and rightly so. That's just, you know, these kind of statements are not needed because people can see the big picture. And the big picture is, if he doesn't get results, Ruben Amorim that is, the man making that statement will have to fire him.
So why make that statement in the first place?
And that's the point. These statements come back to bite you in the backside. They do. Because he, like everybody else, is in a results-based environment. And if Ruben Amorim doesn't get results, these statements are worth nothing. Zero. Zilch. And that's the game we all watch and have played, is the one, Shaka, where results matter.
I listen, I'm with Craig in that I simply don't understand it. I really don't. To make such a broad, sweeping statement on the back of, albeit one good result against, as you mentioned, Sunderland.
Liverpool off the back of the break.
It really beggars belief. And we aren't talking about one season. It's been coming up to a year that Amorim has been in charge. And it has pretty much gone downhill from Ten Hag, who was sacked. And if things do not improve in 12 months under a manager that you deemed not good enough, I'm not sure how you view that, or view his sacking, if it were to come tomorrow, for argument's sake, as a knee-jerk reaction. It's justified by those results. I don't understand. I really don't.
What's he blabbering about, Don?
Well, me.
Oh, no, that's standard. That's normal.
Well, who? Ratcliffe for the boys.
You're just not a billionaire.
I think what he's trying to do, he's trying to put a bit of water on the fire and to say, listen, give him 3 years, judge him in 3 years. I mean, it was a poor
Don,
statement. There was no need.
That doesn't happen. Can you imagine Florentino Perez saying, "Well, give Xavi Alonso 3 years. Don't worry."
Dan, no, I don't agree with you. I'm just thinking why Jim Ratcliffe made the statement. He was just trying to put a bit of water on a fire because he was unfair in bringing Mikel Arteta into the conversation, where he said, well, judge Mikel Arteta in the first couple of years when he finished a couple of eights, but it was Mikel Arteta's very first job in world football. You know, the points and the results speak for themselves. This is a guy that's won 10 games and lost 17. You know, he talks about 3 years. If they had a loss against Sunderland last weekend, he would have got sacked. No question whatsoever. The game that they play next is Liverpool. The game after that is Brighton. The game after that is Forest and Spurs. So never mind give him 3 years. Give him the next 4 games, because if he goes 4 straight losses on the spin, he'll be gone. And he will always be judged on results. Absolutely. The boys are right. Look at Russell Martin at Rangers trying to turn around and say, that's about philosophy. No, it's about winning. And when your record's poor, and when you're one of the worst managers in Man United's history, his own words, and you are in a relegation battle, his own words, and you've took the team worse than what Eric Ten Hag was, which is phenomenal. It strikes me at the minute I'm watching a repeat of when Eric Ten Hag was in charge at Man United. He'll win a game, everything goes a little bit quiet, he'll lose 2 games, Eric Ten Hag, he's back under pressure. It's exactly the same as Amorim now.
I'm just waiting on the statement from Marinakis saying Big Ange's got 3 years. I mean,
wow.
He's lucky if he's got 3 hours.
Yes.
But I mean, that is true. I mean, Don just picked up on it as well there. Let's look at this rationally. Had they been thumped, and it was possible, had they been thumped by 2 or 3 goals by the newly promoted team in Sunderland at Old Trafford at the weekend, he'd have been putting a statement out about the dismissal of Ruben Amorim. I'm almost sure of it. And yet, off the back of 1 win against a team who've started the season well, coming up from the Championship, which they have, but they haven't really played anybody of any note, but they've started well, he feels the need to come out and make a ridiculous statement about a manager who's clearly struggled. He's struggled in all departments. He's struggled to show any life, any desire, any energy on the touchline. He's struggled to put a team on the park that can get results. He's struggled to deal with press conferences properly when he's asked about his systems and all the things that go with it. He struggled with players who were seen as bad apples. You know, they just sort of sidelined them. He said some ridiculous stuff like I'd play the bus driver before Marcus Rashford. These things are just ridiculous. So to come out and say 3 years, just don't.
I've had enough. ESPN FC is back on your screens tomorrow. Be sure to check it out. 3 years, we'd do well. We'll take that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, well.
Don't judge us today. Judge us 3 years.
You just wait.
Don't judge the show. It's a work in progress.
Exactly. We've talked so much about Liverpool over the last few days, of course, rightly so, given the way they've fallen off a cliff, really, over the last couple of weeks and their stuttering start to their title defence. But let's give some love to Arsenal, shall we, who sit top of the table. They are now favourites to win the Premier League, Don. It just seems to be falling into place for them.
Yeah, I was on comms for the West Ham game last time out.
What difference does that make, Don?
No, they just looked immaculate.
Comms.
Because they looked immaculate. They looked like Liverpool last season. They had total control in minute 1. You watch them after 5 minutes and you go, it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time before they score. Once they get the second one, it's how many. The bench, he's now got a bench to die for. The 3 midfield players at the start of the game, he took the 3 off. He then took Calafiori off and put Lewis Skelly on. I mean, the game that they played against West Ham, and it was just perfect. Everyone called Liverpool boring last season for winning games 2, 3 and 4. It's exactly what Arsenal are doing now. They've got total control of nearly every game they played in. And I thought they were phenomenal.
I mean, I bet you can't wait to go back into hospital just so you don't have to listen to Don say, I was on comms for that one. I'm going to pipe that into your hospital room.
Just Don said, I was on comms for that game. I was doing that game.
I did that game in Saudi Arabia. I did that game. I was doing Goals Rush at the weekend.
OK, so if we look at where there may be a problem going forward. Odegaard's out for a few weeks.
Odegaard's injured again. Eze has come into that position. But, he looked OK at Newcastle. He was unlucky not to get on the score sheet. Don talked about the back four. Back four's rock solid. They've got players to come in. They've got good players in the middle of the park. One of the issues they have had has been in the midfield getting the balance right when they've played the 3 midfielders, Zubimendi, Rice and Mikel Merino. So, obviously, he came in for a bit of criticism on that one, and he played Eze at Newcastle. I think Odegaard, when fit, will be back in the team. The one thing that's sort of still sticking out a little bit is their change of style with having a false number 9 or a Kai Havertz up front to having really a traditional number 9, big physical guy who puts himself around in Gyökeres.
Less drop points against teams lower down in the table. I'm still not convinced that he can do it against better opponents, against the Cities and the Liverpools and talking Champions Leagues. But maybe he makes that difference for them in the league, especially when you consider the inconsistency of both Liverpool and Manchester City. That's put it as nicely as I can. So as of right now, I'm with the bookies and seeing Arsenal as favourites to go and win the title. I don't see them as doing that at the Champions League level, simply because as they go deeper against better opponents, that's when Gyökeres is found out.
Even the City game. Think about the first game, Man United away. It was a bun fight with Matthijs de Ligt. He got nothing. It was his first game. Every ball coming up to him was at his throat. And de Ligt was right in behind him. He got no space. Think about the City game. Normally, Man City, even away from home, they're open, they're attacking, there's space in behind. You can get your wide players behind the full-backs, you get crosses into the box. No. City got their early goal and they basically parked the bus. And so when that scenario happens, Arsenal have to find a way to get better quality into the box when teams are defending deep. Because Gyökeres getting the ball like he did in the Newcastle game, into his feet with 4, 5, 6 defenders around him, midfielders and defenders, that's not his game. His game's, spinning in behind, getting in the box for crosses, and it's something that Arsenal haven't really been doing for the last couple of years because they've had players that have been, pulling in a little bit deeper. They've been about the passing. They've been about Saka. They've been less about crosses into the box. Although they've had some success with Moreno, making deep runs from midfield. But now they have an out-and-out front man. And they have to figure out, in games that are tight and when teams are defending deep, how they get the best out of Gyökeres. What can his service is the best service to get the most goals and the best performance out of our number 9 to do the job that he's been brought in for, which is to get them over the line. That's the thing I'm going to be looking for when I'm watching Arsenal.
Don, you've been on the commentary for a number of Arsenal games this season. What did you make of their comments?
Say again, Dan? No, I thought there was green shoots when I watched the Olympiacos game and I watched Martin Ødegaard slide Gyökeres down the side about 4 or 5 times, and he got quoted as being phenomenal in that game, Ødegaard, and he was, because I think they're starting to learn how to play with Gyökeres. As Craig touched on there, the problem for Arsenal with Gyökeres is the majority of teams that play against Arsenal are going to play deep. They're going to play in a low block. So there's not going to be too much room for him to run in behind. Everything's going to then become a little bit shorter for him. So you might be judging a player that's numbers are going to be down this season. But listen, if he scores 10 goals and Arsenal win the league or win the Champions League, he's a success. I wouldn't look at Gyökeres this season and judge him on his numbers. I would judge him on how successful Arsenal are. If they win major trophies and his numbers are down slightly, who cares?
I'm Gab. He's not Jules. He's Don Hutchinson.
Hey.
I'm back. It's a tag team. Jules is off celebrating his birthday. Don, you're still here.
I'm still here, mate. Yeah. Second show in about 4 days. Loving it.
All right. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to all of us. You may have noticed it's International Week, but don't worry. There's still plenty to talk about because UEFA approving the big international game in Miami, La Liga, Villarreal in Barcelona, and also Milan against Como, all the way in Perth, Australia. How about that? We're going to get into that in a little bit. We're going to get into Jim Ratcliffe's comments. Positivity Corner with Sir Jim. How about that?
Is it?
Oh, yes. He's backing Ruben Amorim to the hill. We got Women's Champions League. We got a bunch of other stuff going on, changes potentially to the Champions League going forward. But let's start with something else. Let's start with... All right, if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see a picture of Lamine Yamal here.
Not a great picture.
Well, it's sad, Lamine Yamal, because obviously he's injured again. He's missed time. It's the issue. I want to take advantage of it. I want to talk about this broader issue, right? So there's a debate about too much football being played by the elite teams.
Yeah.
When you look at the minutes, it's not that different to your time, which... By the way, Don's time
still in color.
It was still in color. Don played in the Premier League era. Now, don't be mean. I'm told, anecdotally, that 2 things. One is that the difference compared to when you played, and I want to get to the bottom of this. One is that there's more intensity in the game today.
Which
so
is
they
fair.
may be covering the same ground, but they're sprinting more, and that puts more of a strain. And secondly, that sometimes they bring younger players along much more quickly. I know, obviously, Maldini at 17 and Beckenbauer and Michael Owen, but Michael Owens and Wayne Rooney, there are other examples because there's people who then suffered a lot of injuries throughout their career.
And I just had a lovely voice note from Michael as well, which we'll get into, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. So let's take the first one first. Is this game that much more intense than when you played, say, mid-90s to mid-2000s?
No. I think everyone probably looks at the walking football that was being played in the 70s and the 80s, which it was. It was walking football.
But we're not comparing it to
exactly. The 90s and the noughties was so intense. Every game was a battle. Every game was a fight. You had to put the work in. You had to put the miles in. You just said it there. I bet if you totted up all the games that these young players players these days are playing now. We used to play Boxing Day and the day after. We used to play 2 games in 2 days.
And you were sprinting as much as they are.
Absolutely.
You were sprinting as fast as
I mean, I
Lamine
wasn't
Yamal.
sprinting as much as Jamal. No, there's a different sort of player. But I think it's a brilliant debate. I think it's fascinating because I don't really think we'll ever get to the bottom of it. But there's pros and cons. these guys are running on elite pitches. We were
Right,
not
we'll
running
get
on
to the
elite
pitches in a second. You were playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
My impression as somebody who's watching football, covering football in that era, is that's undoubtedly true of the Premier League. I think in La Liga and in Serie A, certainly, the pace was slower. It was a more technical game. There was
Fair.
less of an intensity.
Fair.
So I'm going to throw this out as a theory. Could it be that football becomes more globalized, styles meshed? Really, with the advent of Pep at Barcelona way back in 2008, 2009, there was a high possession team, but when they lost the ball, they all sprinted to win it back.
Yeah.
That's changed, and certainly in La Liga, there has been a big jump in intensity. And then maybe if Lamine Yamal had come around 20 years ago when it was perhaps less intense, he would have had no issue playing at that young age.
Well, maybe the intensity comes from, which I wish I could have my days back again, is these guys take care of the body. We played off the pitch just as hard as we played on the pitch. And it probably got you through to a certain level. But you probably, when I look back now at my career, if I had been teetotal and looked after my body how I should have done back then, a different culture, I reckon I probably left 15, 20% out there. You look at these guys now, and they are getting the max out of their body. So maybe they're putting their body under more strain. So maybe it's got nothing to do with the miles that they're covering or the intensity of the sprints. But these guys are so fit, like racehorses, whippets. Any small thing in their body can go against them with an injury.
It's interesting because what you're saying seems slightly counterintuitive. So if you're a phenomenal athlete, if you're so finely tuned, if you
When's
take
this?
such,
Now?
No,
Yeah.
I need to wrap this segment up. So I'm just going to kind of, you just tell me if
Well, I
got
just
this
think
right.
there's more things to go wrong if you're so fit.
That's the point I was getting to. So basically, you heard it here. Don Hutchinson argues that maybe if Lamine Yamal was a less serious professional, maybe if he drank a little bit,
No,
maybe a bit of ganja, then he'd be less. then he wouldn't be as injury prone.
You take my point. These guys are so finely tuned.
All right, Don. Just to make it clear about what you were saying on the intensity piece of it, you explained this a little bit off air.
Yeah.
But essentially, the games were just as intense back then.
Yeah.
It's just that you weren't moving as fast
Exactly.
as these guys.
Exactly.
Because these guys are generally they're
being trained better, they're
fitter,
fitter,
they're
they
being
eat-
trained better,
they're eating well.
and so on.
Yeah.
What I don't follow though is why do they pick up more injuries than you do? Is it just because they move fast? Because I guess the point is, and I remember this years ago from a guy like Christian Vieri who was exceptionally fast, like Gyökeres is, for example, but also big and strong.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of build, which Yamal doesn't, but Yamal's not small either, and you push the body, no matter how fit you are, like there's diminishing returns on what your fitness and your preparation can do.
Yeah.
If at the same time you're going faster and harder.
Yeah.
And more.
But you
intensely.
mentioned Vieri, which is a good point. But if you drop Christian Vieri into the modern game, he would be a lot fitter and a lot sharper than he was 25 years
I
ago.
don't think fitness was his problem. I
No,
think-
but I don't mean fitness. See, when I say fitness, I mean the whole conversation is fitness, where you eat the right things. You don't drink any alcohol whatsoever. So your body is tuned to being an elite athlete, which these boys are these days. So our intensity back in the 90s was still 100% from me. But if you drop that intensity compared to now,
Right.
because you're not
Okay,
living
so-
your lifestyle
okay.
right, and you're not the whippet that you should be, you're going to probably pick up one or
So
two more injuries.
Put a little bit different. You were like a VW Beetle, and you put the pedal down to the max.
We all did.
And you were going as fast as you could.
We all did.
These guys are in a Ferrari.
Exactly.
And they go faster than you.
Exactly.
However, because there's limits to how fast you can go
Yeah.
and maintain your integrity, they are more likely to get injured, especially if they play at a young age. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is another theme I want to get into, which is young players. I mean, you mentioned Michael Owen there, who we were in
just
touch
had a
with
great
before the
voice
show.
note from him. Yeah.
For those who don't know, for those who are too young to know about Michael Owen's early career, young phenom, super fast, breaks into. I think he made his debut for Liverpool on the last day of a season and
Yeah.
scored.
Yeah.
And then went on.
Played
And
for
then-
England at like 17, Ballon d'Or, early 20s, the fastest thing on two legs, and when he was a
Then
teenager.
he suffered an injury. I think it was against Leeds United.
Ripped
if I
his
recall.
hamstring.
And then after that, he lost a lot of his pace. He still
Yeah.
had his technical ability.
Yeah.
He didn't become slow overnight, but he didn't have that breakaway speed that he had.
His slowness, as he called it, would have been bringing himself down to our level, where he was rapid as a teenager.
Which meant that you could catch him. At the end of his career.
Yeah, when he's got no hamstrings, but he left a fascinating voice note, didn't he? Saying he's not sure if you can ever get to the bottom of it. Well, he thinks it might have been genetic because his dad was a footballer, suffered bad hamstrings, and his brothers did as well.
And that opens up a whole other argument, right? So, I mean, I remember when Lamine Yamal broke into the first team, I think, or when he started training with them, I think he was still 15. And I remember having this conversation with Jules, and I said, like, I don't see the point when you're a growing boy of pushing somebody this far. Yes, there are people who have long careers and make their debuts very young. I mentioned Maldini before. But those are outliers. Our bodies are all different. And it's interesting that he brought up genetics. And I genuinely wonder, is this something Barcelona, not picking Barcelona, any club, I mean, Arsenal with Max Daumann, Milan with Camarda, like there's a lot of examples like that. Do they go, and to what degree can they access, for example, somebody's genetic history? Does that play into it? Or do they just take the measurables and say, Lamine, okay, we can probably measure if Lamine is still, if his body's still growing. I mean, now he's 18, maybe not, but sometimes it continue. We can measure his size. We can do tests on his muscles, and we can say, yes, you're ready to play this much. But without that genetic element,
it's very hard.
It's hard, right?
It's very hard. I mean, let's just take it back 25, 30 years ago when Arsene Wenger, when we mentioned Ray Wilkins before, and Arsene Wenger wanted to meet the parents of a young player because he wanted to get an idea how tall they would be. So that's like 25 years ago. My fascination is where we're going to be in 25 years' time. It's going to be amazing. I talked to Joel Ward about Oliver Glasner the other day, taking blood samples every single day to try and preempt any sort of injury. It's fascinating. With young players like Yamal and Max Daumann and all these young kids that are trying to break their way into first teams, I don't think there's any patience from these young players because they know how good they are and they want to play, which is a great thing.
Was there patience in your day?
With smaller squads and...
I'm just curious. Tell me your story, right? So you played for West Ham, you played for Everton, you played for Sunderland, despite being a Newcastle fan.
Depends how good you are,
You played for Liverpool.
Because the Robbie Fowlers and the Michael Owens all come through Liverpool.
But this is what I'm asking you. At any point, maybe when you were older, were there kids that who maybe trained with you who were 16, 17, coming up, apprentices?
Joey Cole, Michael Carrick.
Yeah, and you felt these guys are better than what's on the pitch. They should play more. Did they want to? Can you just describe that environment when you had like a young Joe Cole?
Yeah, who was better than any one of us.
Well, no,
he was different
wasn't because Paulo Di Canio was on the team and he would strike you down if you heard you say that.
And I was shared a dressing room with the both. And let me tell you, those two were quite fiery towards each other, trying to nick the same position.
But we know who's better.
Okay.
So let's not go there. Right. But honestly, what was the environment? Was there a lot of preoccupation at West Ham saying, like, we got to make sure this Joe Cole guy, he's like a Fabergé egg. How do we make sure he doesn't get hurt? Is he going to put on weight? Is he going to do this? How is he going to develop? Was there a lot of sports science involved in that?
Not a lot of sports science when Harry Redknapp was the manager, and then Glenn Roeder after that. But what you've got to take into consideration, these guys were very good at protecting the young players because you can't just stick them into 40 games of the Premier League when you're like 15, 16. And you're going to be like one of West Ham's potentially greatest ever players, or certainly like coming through the academy, and you're gonna play really well and be a superstar. Loads of them at the time. Michael Carrick comes into that conversation. You've got to drip feed them into the first team,
right? Because you have to. Because Lamine Yamal was not drip fed into the Barcelona first team.
Probably nor was Pedri. And it's a different game, Gab. The game now is more, I would say, on the talent because the pitches are perfect. The game sometimes, even though we mentioned intensity, can be that little bit slower where you take more time and you get more time on the ball. 90s and noughties football was like, you've got to fight for every single ball coming out of the sky. And you're going to land one at your feet, and Vinnie Jones is going to go straight through you. And if the ball's in the air, so is John Fashanu. That's the game we played. And so Brian Robson and Norman Whiteside and Steve McMahon and all these guys wouldn't give you half a second on the ball. Okay. So the Joey Coles of this world had to be protected a little bit more.
Okay, I think you're kind of...
I know I'm mismashing the ages,
yes,
but
I think Whiteside had retired by the time.
I know, but
the time you were a regular in the Premier League.
I know, but I
love that. Yeah,
but you get my point, though, right? You can't just lob these.
You're not going to bring up Billy Whitehurst, no?
Well, there you go. Yeah, but you can't just lob these young kids into
Norman Hunter was biting your legs.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
When it suits Don, he makes it seem as if he's an old timer. When it doesn't suit him,
because I played against the majority of them. I actually did when I was sort of like 18, 19. So my 18, 19 goes into like
Right.
29. So
But-
I've come across all these guys. I know how tough it can be. More so, especially for a youngster. You have to protect these guys.
I'm wondering too, is there a psychological element to it? Because I go back, I mean, this game stands out, but it's not the only one, right? Barcelona against Inter, Champions League semifinal last year.
Yeah.
Barcelona need to get back into it. It felt like, I know Pedri half fit, whatever. They're just looking for him constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, something's wrong here. Like, he may be your best player, maybe. But it's already unhealthy if you just look for the best guy all the time.
That's the dilemma, isn't it? Because should he be in the team?
No,
The answer
I don't have
is
an issue
probably
with him
not.
being in the team, but everything was overloaded, and he took over. And you saw the number of times he tried to dribble. Inter overloaded his side time and again. Should we have a different attitude towards these young players? Because there's a physical element to it, there's a psychological element to it.
So here's the problem, right? So here's the problem. If you take a different attitude and you say to Yamal and you say to Pedri and all these young kids, right? Let's just put a number on it, right? Let's just say, right, the new law is for a teenager, you can only play 25 games a season. Let's just say that's like an unwritten law. So you're protecting the players not playing 50 games. At some point, because the kids are so good these days and there's so much stats around the game, people will jump on and go, oh, well, Yamal's only scored 10 goals this season. These guys want to be hitting 25 and 30. They want to be hitting 40 appearances. So how do you get the best out of these young kids with their numbers and their performances without playing them every single week? So my take when I go back to like Glenn and Harry, how they manage these young players is you say to Yamal in a game that Barcelona are going to win, you ain't playing today. Right. You're going to be sat in the stand. You're not even going to be on the bench. Then when we need you in 3 games' time for a big one, you're going to star in this game. So you take the workload off them.
I think it's interesting because, the way you do it is hopefully they're grown-ups, hopefully they're family supportive, hopefully they're surrounded by people who
It comes from the boss, though. It comes from the boss.
No.
It does, because he can decide if they're playing.
Of course it comes from the boss. But just let me finish. What I'm saying is, if there's a right environment, right nurturing environment, you can sell them on the idea that if we bring you along more slowly, you can be one of the best players to have ever worn the Barcelona shirt, or insert whatever team. You can star here for 15 years. You can win multiple Champions Leagues and Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
If we overplay you, you can become Ansu Fati.
Yep.
Lamine Yamal knows who Ansu Fati is because he was probably 12 or 13 when Ansu Fati was him.
Can I say very quickly what his response would be? I want to be Messi. Also played at 16, 17.
Yeah, he's playing much more than Messi did at the time.
I want to be as good as him.
Okay,
so that's what the play would say to you.
That's fine. And maybe you will be. But you could also become Ansu Fati.
I know. So what? My point is, what do you do? Because you haven't got a crystal ball.
Yeah, no. It's. I think this is an area where sports science really have to fill this gap, and you can't. And it's so broad, and it's still so far behind. We take it as read. I mean, obviously, I'm sure. You've got stories about when you were breaking in at Liverpool, and you guys.
Or Neil Ruddock putting his heart rate monitor on the dog just to make sure that his stats were quite high when the physios were looking.
Sounds more like a West Ham type story, but
probably.
Yes.
I agree, though. Sports scientist is going to be amazing. It's amazing
the facilities
now,
and everything, cryogenics, and it seems amazing, but it doesn't have all the answers, and there's still so much work to do. And I know it's just so important to get this right.
Definitely.
And I don't have a problem with playing the kids, and it's brave and whatever. But I would generally tend to err on the side of caution because you may get outliers. You may get people like him, like Diego Maradona, like Messi. But even go back to Cristiano. Look how much Cristiano played when he was Lamine Yamal's age, and look at the role he had within the team. People forget that before Cristiano became the center of the universe, he was a fleet-footed winger who played sometimes. Sometimes he didn't play. He'd come off the bench, go on the bench. This is at 21 years of age here. And this is freaking Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Right?
So does that come down to a little bit of genetics? Does it also come
could
down
be genetics.
to looking after your body?
But could also help explain why Cristiano Ronaldo's still banging them in now that he's 40 years old. And why, broadly speaking, he's been mostly injury-free throughout his career.
So I don't know how he lives his life.
No.
I don't know this.
That's part of it. But I'm saying is he wasn't overplayed when he was young.
Right.
They did like I think all these things come together.
Yeah.
And wow, just something to think about this international break. All right, enough overplaying youngsters. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's do it.
It's official. UEFA have given the green light, and Villarreal, Barcelona in Miami, and Milan Como in Perth are a go. Don, does this bother you as much as it bothers some folks?
No, I think it's inevitable. I think to try and expand La Liga, Serie A, I think it's a good thing. The only thing I'm worried about is the integrity of the game. How many Villarreal supporters and Como supporters will be watching their game down in Perth or down in America?
Well, for Como, it's an away game. It's more like how many Milan supporters are going to be.
I would imagine it'll be 99.9% Milan supporters rather than Como, and 99.9% more than Villarreal.
Yeah,
so the integrity of the game bothers me a little bit.
There's several bits of this. That's certainly one of them. Real Madrid, I think, had a point when they said, well, wait a minute. Villarreal away is one of Barcelona's toughest away trips.
Yeah.
Now it's basically turned into a home game.
Gab, why did UEFA go out of their way to make it clear that this is a one-off and they remain against this?
It's pretty remarkable when you read their statement where they say this should not be happening. League games should not be played abroad. It should be played on home soil. We have to grant it in an exceptional case in these two. And they say that they have to grant it for several reasons. One is certainly in Milan's case, they don't really have a choice because they draw 70,000 fans a game.
Yeah.
They share the stadium.
Yeah.
There's no other dates. The only other stadium in Italy that could accommodate them theoretically would be the Olympic Stadium in Rome, but there's two teams already playing there.
Yeah.
Barcelona obviously is a different case, but they say FIFA are the ones who should make the rules on this. And FIFA, they set up a committee following their settlement after they were sued by Relevant Sports. But they settled that lawsuit. But that framework isn't in place yet. So I think they fear legal challenges themselves. They do not want to get sued. And if you're really cynical, Relevant Sports, who made this happen, are also FIFA's commercial partners now, as of March 2025. So it's a complex thing. I genuinely don't think that UEFA believe that there's a lot of appetite for this. And I think a lot of fans are against it for the reasons you mentioned and other reasons too, because reaction from the players hasn't been great, Don. Frankie de Jong says he doesn't like it. He plays for Barcelona, of course. He says it's not good for the players because of the travel, blah, blah, blah. And you can understand why other clubs are opposed because, as we said, for the reasons we mentioned before, Barcelona get to play in Messi's backyard. Milan's Adrian Rabiot, who doesn't mince words, called it, quote, absurd.
Well, it's not absurd, is it? It's just something that...
What, flying all the way to Australia, to the other side of the world to play a game?
But just get on with it and just think what you're trying to do for Serie A or La Liga. Just see the bigger picture. Don't be so insular where, because they travel away in pre-season and play games. They travel away when they're playing, I mean, not this far, obviously, but when they're playing Champions League football. It's just another bit of travel.
Well, no, I think there's a big difference between flying 25 hours to Australia. I think
they can acclimatise pretty quickly, these players. If the schedule and the logistics are done right, it's not the end of the world from a footballer's point of view. It's not going to take anything away from your performance. Maybe they're edging to what I was saying.
You're sounding like Luigi De Siervo, who is the head of the Italian league, who said that Rabiot should respect his employer who pays him a lot of money.
I wouldn't go that far, but he's not a million miles away.
I think he should just shut up about this.
Well, there you go.
And he should shut up for another reason, which we'll get to in the next question.
Everything says this is about money, Gab, publicity. How much are they actually making?
So this is the thing. So on the money side, the guarantee for the two teams reported, because this hasn't been confirmed, but Barcelona Villarreal will split between $10 and $12 million.
Equally?
I think Villarreal will get a little bit more because they're giving up the home game. And in Perth, Milan and Como are going to split between $8 and $9 million. That's a ton of money. Is it really? Barcelona, as we'll get to later, they made more than $1 billion in revenue last year, which is a lot of money. We're talking.
It might just help them pull a lever.
We're talking 0.5% increase here. Now, obviously, it's much higher for Como and Villarreal because their revenues are lower. This whole idea about the publicity and spreading the game. Look, the NFL does it. I think it's nonsense. The Premier League spoke about this. Richard Master, Premier Chief Executive, says people know who we are. I mean, Premier League, of course, looked at this in 2008. I don't know that it moves a needle. I don't know if there's anybody in Miami who doesn't know, who's like, oh, look, there's a soccer game coming in town. Let me find out. And then they
does it not give those fans in Miami that edge of being a little bit closer to some of the Barcelona players because they can see them on their doorstep? I was there.
Maybe they're a little
for the
closer.
Club
How are you
World
going to
Cup.
monetize it other than buying a shirt and coming on tour? I don't know. I think this whole thing with the tours, it had its time. You don't need to do this in season. The NFL is a completely different product.
How?
Sorry?
How does it matter if it's NFL or soccer?
So when the NFL came over,
Yeah.
So first of
Because
all,
where do they go? Germany, they go London, obviously.
yeah, so first of all, there is no competitive professional league in Europe, right? So if you're an NFL fan, this is literally the only chance
Yep.
to see high level football.
Yep.
Secondly, the NFL, when they came, they come for a week, they do clinics, they do all sorts of things. Here, because of travel logistics, it's going to be far more in and out. And there's even debate about how lucrative is this really? So yeah, I think it's a complex issue. I don't quite know that the business case is there. I think they committed to this a long time ago, and now they're pig-headedly putting this through. I don't think the juice is worth a squeeze, put differently. Don, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
More, let's do it.
Jim Ratcliffe was crystal clear. He says Ruben Amorim needs to demonstrate he's a great coach over 3 years.
Crystal clear.
And he was asked, whoa, what if the Glazers told him to sack Amorim? And he said, well, that's not going to happen.
What if they lose against Liverpool?
Not going to happen.
What if they lose against Brighton? What if they lose against Forest and lose against Spurs?
3
years?
Nope. He seems certain that the Glazers won't ask him. It's funny because even the way that's couched, it's like a reminder that, bro, it's not your club. It's the Glazers club.
Yeah, yeah.
And they will decide, not you.
Yeah. If their shares and their stocks all fall.
I see his point in wanting to back the coach and sticking to the system. And, it's been less than a year.
He mentioned Mikel Arteta, didn't he?
Sure. But at the same time, it's almost kind of slightly humiliating.
I don't really think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to football, Gab. Business, making money, being a genius at what you do. When he talks about football, the more I hear Jim Ratcliffe speak, the more I think he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's got no idea. Why would you mention 3 years when you've got them games coming up, as I've just mentioned? Because he's going to look pretty silly if he's going to have to sack Ruben Amorim after them 4 games, because what if they lose all 4? Now...
He's painted in a corner when times are tough. I
think basically he doesn't want to sack Ruben Amorim because he's his man. He's his first appointment. That's basically what it is. He's trying to give him as much time as possible.
I think there's a business case not to sack him too. It's less than a year. Simple as.
I've done a worse job than Eric Ten Hag, but it's another story. Gab, who is Turki Al-Sheikh? Why are United fans so excited about his tweet in the last 24 hours?
Well, you're Mr. Saudi. Yeah. You should know.
I do know.
You probably met Turki Al-Sheikh. He's the
I know him well.
Head of the General Entertainment Authority. He's the guy that brings the boxing, the big sporting events, and so on to Saudi Arabia. He's got a hand in the Saudi Pro League as well. He put out a tweet, and nobody knows how to read this. Right. Not because it's in Arabic, because we all have that little translate function. He says, I'm going to quote this. Yep. The best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. I don't know if it's April Fool's Day in Saudi. I don't know if he knows something. I don't know which previous owners he's talking about.
He must know something.
Is it Ratcliffe? Is he just having fun? I don't know. I'm assuming he doesn't drink, so probably not a drunk tweet. But it has set the world ablaze. You don't know anything, right? Despite your close follower of Saudi Pro League?
No. He's not texted me just yet. I'll wait for the text.
All right. Presumably he's not the new owner. But anyway, so yes, it just kind of shows you how United world is on tenterhooks. Now, Turki Al-Sheikh, of course, he'd also be involved if, as reported, Manchester United arranged a friendly in Saudi Arabia to raise some cash in the new year, which is kind of funny because you're negotiating with them, but then you're also kind of mocking the owners, which I don't get. But what's your take on in-season friendlies? They don't have to worry about European football or the League Cup for that matter. I'm assuming you're fine with it.
Fine.
Since you're okay with flying to Perth.
Fine. fine. We done it as players. Sometimes it can be a bonding session. Sometimes you can get a little bit of vitamin D and a bit of sun and a bit of relaxation and get away from all the noise in and around Carrington or the Premier League. If you've got time on your hands, rather than allow the players just to go and take separate holidays and fly here then everywhere with their families, why wouldn't you bring them together?
So
I think it's not a bad idea.
It's interesting because the account I wrote, they're making around €6 million a game. Presumably they'd be playing a friendly against Cristiano or Al Nasser or Al Hilal or whatever. It's funny because this is more than what Barcelona are going to make from going to Miami, which just tells you how much money there's in Saudi and also how United, despite everything, remain a massive brand.
Yeah, true. Gab, I heard of the European Club Association, ECA. Well, that's no more. They've rebranded it. What's the plans for the Champions League?
So the ECA is now called simply European Football Clubs. They became much bigger. This whole thing started out as something called the G14, where they had 14 of the biggest clubs in Europe. Now they have more than 800 clubs, including like 139 women's clubs. They're kind of a lobbying group of clubs. The danger with this, and it's great that you've become really big, but a club in Andorra or Anderlecht women are going to have very different priorities to Barcelona or Manchester United or Real Madrid. It's as simple as that. But they are partners in a company called UC3, which is partners with UEFA. It's a joint venture, and they run the Champions League, run European competitions, and they say that from 2027 to 2033 for the next cycle, they're going to make even more money, 500 million more than they make now. They're talking about trying to do a deal, like a global deal with some streamers for one game a week, and of course Netflix got mentioned. Disney Plus, owned by the same parent company as ESPN, also gets mentioned. I don't know, there seems like a lot of talk for me right now, and making the whole emphasis on trying to get more money from broadcasters when the numbers are what they are, I don't know. It doesn't really float my boat, but hey, European football clubs, if you think that sounds better than ECA, go for it. Why not? Now, reports in Spain suggest that A22, the company representing what's left of the Super League, which is basically just Real Madrid and Juventus at this stage, now they have pitched a different format to UEFA. They still want to collaborate. I'm told UEFA do not like this. They want all the games on some free streaming platform where then you'd pay extra, blah, blah, blah. But also, format-wise, they say, hey, why don't we take the 36 teams, split them into 2 groups of 18, and then but one would be the top tier, and one would be kind of the second tier. And then the top 8 from the top tier advance automatically to the round of 16. The second 8 would go to a playoff, and they would face the top 8 in the second tier. You hate this as much as I do.
What a load of rubbish. Who's going to volunteer to go into the second tier?
Well, presumably they'd use coefficients and rankings.
Yeah, but you just don't do it. I mean, you know when this Super League got announced, what was it? I can't remember what it was. 4 or 5 years ago when all the clubs sort of signed up to it, everyone sort of signed up, then realised after fan revolt they just couldn't get involved. I knew from day one I couldn't get involved. When Bayern Munich said, no, we will be no part of this, you got no Super League.
Yeah.
If teams like Bayern say no, and Liverpool say no, and Man United say no, there's no competition to be had.
This is also a stupid format because...
And I didn't care about the format. It'll never get off the ground.
Just the second tier, if only 8 of 18 go to the playoffs, you're going to have a whole bunch of dead rubbers at the end. And the other thing is...
It's not even the format, Gab. It won't happen. It's rubbish.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's absolutely rubbish.
UEFA will stand in their way.
Exactly. Barca announced their financial results, Gab. Profitable, but improving.
No, not profitable. They made a 17 million euro loss, which is obviously they've made a loss except for the big summer of Laporta leavers.
Right.
They've made losses every year, but this loss is only 17 million, so the loss is down. And the revenue, of course, passing the $1 billion mark, 994 million euros. That's a big deal, although some of that I think might also have to do with some one-off revenue as well. I don't know.
Just including stadium cost, everything? Does the stadium cost come into this, or do we not
Stadium
know?
cost does come into this, yes, of course. So, they're on track. There's still a lot of debt to wind your way through. More Barca. Sporting director Deco says they don't necessarily need a traditional center forward, pointing out that Paris Saint-Germain didn't have one. So maybe Robert Lewandowski won't be replaced on.
Well, they're going to have to replace him at some point.
But not with the center forward.
Well, all right, unless you want to go down the PSG route, which is, when you look at their players, you think, yeah, it can work. Pep proved it can work. I still think they need one, do you?
I agree.
The Athletic report that Arsenal are in talks to renew their 10 million a season Visit Rwanda sponsorship, despite protests from fans, Gab.
Yeah, and I'm told there's also some internal protest against this. It's a bad look. Rwanda been sanctioned by the UK government over human rights. I think at some point as a club, you need to figure out what you stand for. 10 million is a lot of money, but this is an undemocratic regime, and you just need to look at the list of charges against them. Harry Kane says he's open to extending his deal with Bayern, which expires in 2027 when he's going to... It's the summer he turns 34. By the way, Harry Kane has the same birthday as me.
Oh, does he?
Fun fact.
When?
And also Joan of Arc, July 28th. How about that?
July. Yeah, all the best footballers are born in May.
Yeah, right. It's actually the opposite. Those are all the worst ones because those are the ones...
Oh, Beckham's in there.
I bet Beckham's an outlier, but like Okay, so statistically...
I'm going to get you a list next time I'm on.
Statistically, this has been proven, right?
So, is this the French manager that proved this, who could only pick certain players in their birth year?
No. That's based on astrology. And I think that was Raymond Domenech.
Yeah, I'm not picking Zidane because he was born in July.
So basically, most leagues they have a cutoff. Some have it based on calendar year.
Yeah.
And some have it based on school year. So it's September 1st.
Yeah.
So the ones who are born in certain times of year where they're essentially playing up at a young age, or the ones who are more mature because they were born in, for example, in September. So, for example, Ruben Nistelrooy and the original Ronaldo were born on the same day and so on. There is definitely a strong correlation there. I don't remember exactly what it is. It exists in other sports.
I'm next time I'm coming in with a list of players born in May.
Yeah. Well, Cristiano was born in February.
All right.
Your favorite player. just remembering. Anyway, back to Harry Kane. He says that when he first left, he was pretty sure he'd return to the Premier League and his career there. Now he's not so sure.
Because he loves it at Bayern. He loves it at Bayern. He's playing with one of the biggest clubs in the world. However, his end game is he's building a lovely little house at Wentworth. When I say little, I mean hell of a house at Wentworth. So he will come back at some point, but I think if you Harry...
the golf course.
Yeah, on the golf course,
near Virginia Water.
Yeah, he's on there. He's building. That's a fact. I think if you're Harry Kane, just play for as long as you can at the biggest club you can play for, and that's Bayern. Because what's your options? At his age, when his deal expires, with all due respect, the Liverpools and the Man Cities are not going to be there. The Arsenal's not going to
be there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So do you want to go back to Spurs? Fine. Or do you want to stay at Bayern? No, what I'd mind to be is stay at Bayern. Wouldn't you? I think so.
He grew up an Arsenal fan. How cool would it be if
he can't go to Arsenal? Surely,
but he was an Arsenal fan.
You can't. You ruin your Spurs legacy, wouldn't you? You can't.
Sol
do that.
Campbell did it. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, all right.
No, but I like the fact that he's open. And
no.
I find the guy immensely.
He's
likable.
a smart man. He's a smart man. He's just leaving that door open for anyone in England that might want me. But I'm quite happy at Bayern. Espanyol have new owners. Gab, a group led by Alan Pace, who owns Burnley and have officially acquired the club.
So this is interesting. So I have my own history with Alan Pace in the sense that this guy who is not a billionaire, he's a guy, a finance guy.
Yeah.
When he bought Burnley, I thought to myself, wow, this is really, talk about throwing money down the drain, because this was sort of Sean Dyche was leaving. They were on their way to getting relegated. And I'm like, Burnley's, for those who don't know their English geography, you'll know better than I do, but Burnley is not it's not a big city. It's not a wealthy place.
Yep.
It's in the same catchment area as kind of sort of Manchester's catchment area. So there's so many other clubs, so much competition.
Yeah.
They haven't historically been like a long-term Premier League club, or rather they have been, but not really in the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And then what does he do? He goes down, appoints Vincent Company, and they dominate the league and go back up. And then they go down and they come back up. So I will, no problem saying this, Alan. You were totally right. I was totally wrong on this one. Espanyol is interesting because Barcelona is obviously a massive city. Obviously, Barcelona are the biggest clubs.
Yeah.
The biggest club, but Espanyol, it's a big catchment area. And there's a lot of people, not just for political reasons, who don't like Barcelona and don't like what they stand for. And so I think there is a potential there for Espanyol, which maybe doesn't exist at Burnley. So
to steal some of what Barca have got.
Maybe not steal, but maybe convert newcomers. People come to Catalonia every year.
That's what I meant.
So it's interesting. And J.J. Watt, by the way, also apparently part of that ownership group. Don, you love your Serie A.
Yeah.
Kenan Yildiz has been lighting it up this season, and he's in talks to extend his contract, which runs through currently runs through 2029. It would just be one more year, but a significant bump in wages. He's earned this, right?
Love him. Do you like him? I love him.
I think he's phenomenal.
He's amazing. I mean, he's versatile. He can play left, 10, right, but I think he's better off the left-hand side. He's got great feet, can take the ball in tight areas. He can maneuver. He's got good balance. He sees a picture. Could do with scoring more goals, but I think when you look at the talent and what you've got to work with, you watch him and you go like, this kid is like frightening.
Yeah, if you saw his goals against Inter Milan or against
I commentated on the
Dortmund.
game. I commentated on the game last week against Milan, and it was a fascinating watch, and he was very good in moments in the game, but it was a real tactical battle. It was a fascinating game to watch. But as the player, I think we'll both agree he's going to go right to the very top.
All right, so let me put you on the spot. Which Turkish attacking midfielder would you take, Kenan Yildiz or Arda Güler?
I mean, they're different. Güler, I think, is more of a number 10 than Yildiz. Yildiz.
All right.
Yeah?
There you go. You heard it. I would lean Yildiz too.
Yeah. Gab, there's been rioting and some deaths in Morocco, but why are they protesting? What are they protesting about? Could this be a problem for the AFCON, which is scheduled to be played in January?
So it could be a problem for the AFCON. It could be a problem for the World Cup because, of course, 2030, Morocco are co-hosts. Now, part of it is called the Gen Z rebellion. Part of it is young people unhappy with the economy, with their job prospects, and so on. But there's been a big backlash against football. Morocco have invested more in football and football grounds and football stadiums, really than most other countries. Certainly, most countries outside of Europe and South America. And people are wondering, is this kind of a bread and circuses thing? Like, oh yeah, we have these shiny football facilities. We have the run in the World Cup. It's great, but we want to get paid. And it's really driven by young people. It started on social media. 3 people have passed already. And they have to play the Cup of Nations there because they have very good facilities. CAFIN says, no, there's no question. There's no plan B. Say Morocco's plan A, plan B, plan C. But there's something to be said for social unrest, and also something to be said about, is football what a government should be spending money on, and to what degree, I guess. Steven Gerrard could be back in management soon, Don. He's a favorite to take over at Rangers following Russell Martin's disastrous stint, the very handsome Russell Martin. You're Scottish. Your thoughts?
Come on, Stevie. Come home. You know it makes sense. Come on. I mean, Invincible, when he won the title a few years back, he gets the city, he gets the club, never waffles about the project, never waffles about the philosophy. He understands that Rangers and Celtic, it's all about winning. It's not about how you play. Bring him home.
Okay. All right. Obviously, they would be getting a less handsome manager in Steven Gerrard.
Oh, you say that. Depends who you like. I think Stevie G is a handsome man.
But surely he's no Russell Martin. But seriously, what is the deal with this guy, with Russell Martin? Because I just want to take a little detour.
Wow, where'd you go?
Okay.
He never got Rangers from the start.
No, but we'll get to that.
All right.
I know you're keen to talk about Rangers, but just for those who aren't as big on Rangers or Russell Martin, correct me if I'm wrong. He gets promoted with Southampton, right? Plays this very heavy possession game and
slow.
People seem to like it.
All right. You could say possession. I say slow.
Okay. Southampton are absolutely terrible.
Yep.
Nobody likes them.
Never learn.
I remember one game where I think they were losing 1-0 at home, and they had some sort of giant center forward.
Yes.
Who was like 6'5",
and they kicked it long.
And no, they didn't. He sends them on with like 2 minutes to go, and they're passing the ball sideways in the center circle. And I'm like, what's the point here? And
That there tells you everything about a manager that's not adaptable or versatile.
And then they look at this, and the people who own Rangers, which by the way include that guy Parag, who's super from the 49ers,
they need to take a look at themselves.
Smart. They look at him. They look at he won them over. How does he seduce people into hiring him?
I think he's a very good talker, I must admit, but you can talk, and it's a different skill set when you're applying for a job and you get an interview for a job and you convince the hierarchy that you know exactly what you're doing. You can seduce people quite easily with numbers, with graphics, with everything that you want to show them, and they'll go, oh, that's quite impressive. But that can get lost very quickly when you're talking about a game. And I'll take the Genk game for an example, because I watched it live, and they got pumped in the first 45 minutes. And they got hammered in terms of everything that was going on. Not so much a scoreline, but they got pumped over the 90 minutes. And he came on and he went, I thought you started the game really well. And I'm sitting there going, you're 1-0 down. You had one off the line, one off the crossbar, and one off chalked off by VAR. So the fact that he's trying to seduce Rangers fans into seeing something that's not actually happening, he's way off the mark. Fans are not daft, Gab. Football fans are not daft. They know when their team's playing well. They know when their team started well, when they've been rubbish. He's never got the club. He talks about they never really wanted him in the first place. I didn't accept him in the first place. Maybe that would have happened if you had to put on a pair of shoes when you stood there and you got the job and had your Rangers tie and your Rangers crest on instead of turning up in hush puppies, put a pair of brogues on, read the room. But apart from that, which I'll forgive, you've got to make sure you talk and walk the walk and speak the language of what Rangers fans want. And that's about winning. Rangers fans don't care if you're playing in the short term. If you're playing terrible football and you're winning 1-0 every week and you're sitting top of the league and you're challenging Celtic, happy days. You ain't
So
got
that's
time.
what you need to understand when you hire a coach, that you need to understand that they care more about results.
Winning. Ask Jose what he wants. Attractive football or winning? It's winning. It's always been about winning.
All right. So since I guess we're heavily Scottish at ESPN FC, as you know, and despite the fact that you don't sound like Stevie Nicol or Craig Burley, you are legit Scot.
Yeah.
It's a weird, because Celtic are under pressure too. A lot of their fans are unhappy.
I think they're more happy at the board more than Brendan.
Okay, but are we seeing a shift from the duopoly anytime soon? Is there excitement, hearts and
Hearts
heads?
are sitting top of the league.
Tony Bloom in there.
I think it's more of a demise on what's happening to Scottish football, watching Rangers struggle and Celtic struggle.
So it's a case of the two big teams are doing
Dropping
worse
back away,
rather than the other guys.
which is not great for the league. Can't be good for the league. The Women's Champions League kicked off, Gab. More woe for Arsenal. They lost at home to Lyon.
Yeah, they obviously not doing great in the Women's Super League here. They let a 1-0 lead kind of fritter away against Lyon. Lyon, of course, who they beat in the Champions League semi-final last year. Some pretty bad defensive errors, trying to build from the back and whatnot. Really disappointing. Just they don't really look well, which is kind of ironic because it was like a couple weeks ago that they were crowned as the club of the year by France Football and all this stuff. They need to sort this out. They need to sort this out very quickly. Elsewhere in the Champions League, some surprising results. Paris Saint-Germain getting pumped 4-0 by Wolfsburg. I think Jules took the right show to take the show off between them and Arsenal losing. And also Barcelona. I know Bayern Munich women aren't Bayern Munich men and whatever. But Barcelona destroyed them 7-1. And when you watch them play, it looks like they play a different sport.
It reminded me watching that game and watching the highlights of that game. It reminded me of a Pep's Barcelona. It reminded me of like a group of women who are just playing, as you said, a different sport, but completely on another level. Like everything about them, like the technique, the skill, the pace, the passing, the sharpness.
I think it's relevant because we reported on this before. Barcelona women's team, they appear to be cutting back. They've got a lot of big stars in the final year of the contract. They necessarily several of them haven't been renewed and so on. There's questions about whether they'll continue to fund the women's team to the levels that they have before. If this is the case, if this is somehow like sort of the beginning of an end or maybe some sort of reload situation, what a way to go out and watch them while you can, because even if you, honestly, they're on a different level. I don't care they didn't win the Champions League last year.
Incredible.
Like, it's not just about that. We're talking about performance here. It's really special to watch. Somebody named David Kogan will be the new independent football regulator, Don. Now, I don't expect you to get into the weeds about this politically, but in principle, do you like the idea of somebody outside the sport, somebody who answers to government and therefore to the voters? Do you like the idea that they should have some sort of say in regulating the sport in the interest of the fans? And if we were to live in a donocracy, right? What powers should the football regulator have?
Well, you'd like to hear what he's got to say about all topics that would be on the agenda or on the list. You can't just say, like, yeah, it can be a good thing. Is he not from football? Is he not a football background?
I'm sure he's a football fan.
Right, but he doesn't come from a football background.
No, he's not a former footballer.
No, but I mean, like, business in football or...
No, I don't think so. And I think that's intentional, too, because you don't want somebody who has...
Yeah,
who has ties to certain clubs or whatever, right?
I mean, this is more your domain, but I would just listen to everything that he's got to say, good and bad, about the game and what ideas he's got. No.
So, well, the way it works is they've given him certain powers, and obviously the Premier League has fought this. Nobody likes regulation, but I think it's more.
I mean, the question I would say to him, because I hate it with a vengeance. I hate PSR. I can't stand PSR.
Yeah, you like it when clubs go bust?
Well, how many Premier League teams have gone bust?
Because of PSR, but
no. How many Premier League teams have gone bust before PSR?
I've gone insolvent.
Yeah, Premier League teams. Doesn't happen. Happens lower league down the pyramid.
Yeah, it'd be after they get regulated and they get their
I mean, I know we're going quite a little bit off topic here, but how can you punish Newcastle for getting Champions League football and then say, right, you've got to sell some of your young players? Heard Eddie out. Of course he did. He had to send They had to sell Elliot Anderson. Eddie Howe's talked this week of buying him back. As soon as they come out the Champions League and Aston Villa get in, they've got to sell Douglas Louise. They've got to try and jiggle around PSR. These teams like Villa and these teams like Newcastle and these teams like Tottenham should be allowed to challenge Man City at the top or Arsenal, Liverpool at the top. So I find it strange how these teams can't get there because of this PSR. I find it bizarre.
So the idea
you
is...
finish in the top four, you get Champions League football. Come on, boys, kick on. No, we can't. We've got to sell some players because of PSR.
If you overspent before, because you want to make the sport sustainable, right? It's like in any business.
Newcastle can't overspend, Gab. They're the richest club in the world.
They're not. Their owners are the richest, maybe very
richest
rich.
Owners.
And by the way, they're not the richest people. Can we just stop this? Saudis are not the richest people in the world. The Saudi sovereign wealth fund
in the world. Newcastle.
They're not
the
richest. What does it mean?
Would be.
What?
If it wasn't a PSR and you go factually, which club's worth the most because of the owners, it would be Newcastle United.
It's nonsense.
How's it nonsense?
Are you saying which club has the richest owners?
Yes.
Okay. So
it's Newcastle.
Right. Yep. But that doesn't mean that.
But the fact that they can't.
Doesn't mean
my point is they can't spend anything. So what's the point? Because of PSR, you're limited. And from a sporting level, if you get your team into Champions League football, how can you then not kick on and be a regular top four or a regular top three or a regular 1-2?
The reason PSR exists is that if you have is two reasons, right? One is if you have somebody coming in, spending a lot of money, putting debt on the club, possibly, which generally is what happens. Obviously, when Man City did it, they were generally debt free, and they just kept. This is before financial fair play rules, but they just kept putting money in, and it was legit cash. That's a different story. But generally, what happens is you make all these commitments, and sometimes you don't follow through on it, and then that creates a chain reaction where other people who you owe money to, they don't get paid, and then they struggle to make payroll.
Do you know what was laughable to me?
Let me finish a second, because fundamentally, everybody loses money in football, right?
Yeah.
You just look at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, it's not a profitable industry, right? The other reason is a sustainability reason, which is if we allow people to come in and spend as much as they want, then other clubs are going to have to go and spend more than they have to try to keep up, because it's going to drive prices up.
That's a good conversation.
And that's going to imbalance the whole system.
That's a good conversation, because you say, right, you can come in, let's just take Newcastle for an example. You can come in and spend what you want.
Mhm.
Eddie Howe couldn't spend what he wants because he's got to convince players to sign for Newcastle. So you just can't go out and buy Kane and Ronaldo,
Right.
Jordi Alba, or you can't go out and buy these guys because they might not want to sign for Newcastle. So you're not just spending what you want. And the laughable thing
But
to
that's
me...
because profit and sustainability rules exist.
Well, I know, but
That's
they
why you
shouldn't.
can't.
That's my point. But the laughable thing to me with this PSR, and I think the most damning thing from what I've saw of PSR, is when Aston Villa got into the top four,
Mhm.
got into the Champions League, and they were forced to sell Douglas Luiz, and they took two players
Mhm.
that I knew would never, ever, ever play for Aston Villa in Berenachea and Illing Jr. These two kids were never going to play for Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I knew it from day one. I've commentated on them a lot. I've seen these kids a
Right.
lot. They were never going to play for Villa. It was a chance for Villa to try and get around and skirt round by getting Douglas Luiz off the wages,
Yeah, of
selling them,
course.
getting two young
Yeah.
players that were never going to play for you. It can't be good.
Well, that's a choice that they made. They didn't
No,
have
but-
to do that.
Well, it was that or a 10-point deduction. Eddie Howe talked
No,
about
it
the other day.
wasn't
with,
that. Sorry,
hang
excuse
on, let
me.
me just
No,
go to
no,
Eddie
no,
Howe.
no,
'Cause
no, no.
Come back to
You
that
can't
one.
say that. You
Well, I
can't-
can
it's
about
just
Eddie
not true.
Howe. I can about Eddie Howe because he said it on TV the other day.
You talk about Eddie Howe, then don't talk
All
about
right.
Aston Villa.
Okay, well-
Aston Villa did not have to do that dubious deal with Juventus.
They did.
They could have. No, of course not.
They did. I heard Monchi talk about it.
Oh, well, Monchi says so. He must be speaking
Well,
truth.
I'm going to listen to him.
Okay.
But let's just talk about Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe said the other day.
You can't say this if you not allow me to talk.
Well, go on then.
Okay, so on the Monchi deal, there were different ways to do this, right?
Yeah.
They chose to do it, doing this deal with the inflated transfer values and the swap, and then Lewis Dobbin and the other guy and all this other stuff, right? They chose to deal with it that way because
You say chose?
because they chose to spend money before, and then afterwards they chose, okay, rather than selling Morgan Rogers, for example, or one of our good players, we're going to go and do this accounting sleight of hand. So they opted to do that, right?
All right.
They had other options, and they were forced into it because of profit sustainability rules, but they didn't have to. They didn't have to do the Douglas Luiz or Barrenechea deal. They could have done different deals, and they knew what the rules were before. Now, on to Eddie Howe.
Right, different owner.
Which
in
is what you
Newcastle
actually
United.
care about more.
I do, but I do care
And
about.
by the way, it's not like the guy who owes Aston Villa is a pauper.
But I
He's a
knew
billionaire
these
too.
two kids were never going to play for Villa. I just knew it. So
Barrenechea, by the way, turned out to be a pretty good footballer.
No, he's a very good footballer, and so is Illing Jr. But I knew they were never going to play for
Okay.
Villa.
Yeah,
so
listen.
Eddie Howe spoke in his press conference last week, and he got asked about Elliot Anderson. And I'm sort of paraphrasing, but he said I'd like to buy him back. He said we had to sell him at the time, otherwise we were looking at a points deduction.
Right.
Why can that be right? You got to sell your best young players from your academy.
Because
the previous owner had got them in stuck.
No, it's not the previous owner.
It was
It's-
Mike Ashley's mob who got Newcastle in stuck.
No, it's not. Well, sorry, that's a whole. I'm not saying he was good or whatever, but no, it's.
But do you
because
agree with the concept that you've got to sell a Newcastle
You
graduate
need- you-
and Minte because otherwise you're going to get a points deduction?
You need to balance the books. That's just the
It shouldn't
reality.
exist.
They spent, how much did they spend on Isak? 60 million, something like that?
60 million, yeah.
Okay.
Sold over 120.
Okay. So they spent 60 million on Isak because they chose to spend when these guys, when they sit there, they make budgets. They know what the rules are, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a surprise. And so we spend a lot of money on Isak, and they sold him for much more later. But obviously that happened after
Yeah.
they let Elliot Anderson go, right?
Yep.
And Minte.
And Longstaff.
They go and they budget. They choose to do their accounting in a certain way with the amortization, which is what makes your homegrown players, by the way, more worth selling because their residual amortization is zero, so it's pure profit when you sell them. They choose to account for the club for clubs this way, and they choose to go and they choose to budget a certain way. So they bought Isak, they bought Botman, they spent on good players so they could get better, so they could grow the team. Let's be very clear on this. The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, they're not running Newcastle the way Abu Dhabi ran Manchester City or the way Abramovich ran Chelsea. They're running this as a business, right? And you see, even
they could afford to put £1 billion on the table at the Premier League, Newcastle's owners, and says, if we screw up here, and if we leave Newcastle United in a worse state, we will leave £1 billion behind. They could.
But you know what? They choose not to because they
they can't because of PSR. There's no point.
It hasn't even come up. It hasn't even come up. They haven't even offered to. When we're talking about redeveloping St. James, they're talking about borrowing money to do that. Oh, why are they borrowing money? They're PIF. Because that's what a business does. They're running this club as a business. They may be Saudi, right? And I know we have this cartoonish thing, they don't care, they're just shoveling money. No. When it comes to Newcastle, they are trying to run Newcastle and turn it into a sustainable business, unlike perhaps what they're doing with the Saudi Pro League and whatnot. And that's simply the reality of it. So I think they're actually the first people who are happy with PSR, even though Eddie Howe obviously isn't.
I'm going to state a fact. I can't stand PSR, and many fans can't.
There you go.
There you go. Jordi Alba will move on from Inter Miami. Is that okay, Gab? Another Spanish left back lined up to replace him?
Sergio Reguilon. Remember the guy we thought was really good until we didn't? I thought Sergio Reguilon, early on, I thought, wow, this guy's really good. And then obviously his career kind of went off the boil a little bit. I think he's now unattached. But he's younger. I think he's 30 now, so he's presumably has better legs. And Jordi Alba obviously will never be the player that Jordi Alba was.
No.
But yeah, why not? Former Luton central defender Tom Lockyer is reportedly training with Bristol Rovers. He's been given the all clear after suffering a cardiac arrest in 2023, which, by the way, wasn't his first cardiac arrest. Don, he's 30. I don't get this at all. But do you understand why you want to come back?
From what point don't you get it? The player's point of view or
from the player's point of view? I mean,
I get it from the player. I do because all you want to do is play football. I know you'll think of life, and I know you think that's more important, which it is, but you don't want to sort of have the sense when you retire that I left something behind. I get it's sensitive, and I get it's very dangerous.
I don't know if he has family, loved ones.
He has. I think he has.
I don't know. It's a very personal choice.
I do get it from a player's point of view why he would want to play.
I don't understand. I mean, maybe it's also similar to what you experienced when you chose to retire as well, right? You always wonder, can I squeeze out one more season?
And he might be looking at guys like Daley Blind, who I think's had 3. He might be looking at other players and
Christian
going,
Eriksen, of course,
Christian
as well.
Eriksen,
Some countries make this illegal.
Yeah.
Simple as. You cannot, they will not register you.
I get that. I do get it from the player's point of view why he'd want to try again and find out if he can cope.
Well, yeah, we just wish him well, right? Regardless.
Bloomberg have issued their list of billionaires, Gab. Guess who's made the cut?
Cristiano! Of course. He is from the list I saw, he's the only footballer on the list. Now, this isn't how much you earn. This is what your net worth is, which in his case, obviously, he's got a chain of hotels, got a ton of investments, making a mint in Saudi Arabia. Puts him over the $1 billion mark.
Wow.
From what I could tell, there's only 3 other athletes, 2 of them ex-athletes on the list. Michael Jordan, not really surprised because in all his ventures, LeBron James, still playing close to Cristiano's age, and Roger Federer, who I don't know if he'd be anywhere near this.
No, Tiger.
I was surprised Tiger Woods was, but I guess I probably had to make a couple payouts for a couple of reasons. And Roger Federer, I'm guessing, is because of the shoes. I don't think he made this whole thing just playing tennis and with the endorsements he got. So I think it's also his shoe business as well. Anyway, always a fun list. There you go, Cristiano. You're number 1 in this too.
Billionaire.
What can I say? That's okay because Elon Musk
he'd drop $1 million down to me and you, couldn't he? Just would it affect him?
It's probably not, but it's weird. Elon Musk is like 800 times richer than Cristiano is.
Yeah,
that's kind of mad. Isn't
Who'd you rather be?
Oh, yeah, I think I know the answer to that one. Sorry, Elon. Even though we went to university together, yeah, I'm going Cristiano here. Don, this brings us to an end. Thank you so much for filling Jules's tiny little shoes because he has tiny little feet. Yeah. We're going to be back on Monday because there's a small matter of internationals, World Cup qualifiers. Stuff is getting real. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, Love yourself.
And that interview with the Manchester United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who has said that he wants to give Ruben Amorim 3 years to prove himself at Old Trafford. But is he right to do so? United, by the way, have taken just 37 points in 34 games under the Portuguese. And Amorim Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I should say, speaking on the business podcast produced